that was the last time anybody that she loved would hear her voice. Hello, true crimers. This is the case of Jenna Danetti. Viewer discretion is advised. It was a late October 7th, 2002 night when 911 received a call about a car on fire. When police arrived, they managed to get the fire out, and when they looked inside, no one was there. But when they looked up the owner of the vehicle, it would lead them on a wild chase to find a missing person. Jenna was born on March 5th, 1985, and she lived in the Livermore, California area. Unfortunately, I really don't have a lot of background information on her as to her childhood. I tried looking and I really couldn't find much. In December of 2001, when she was 17 years old, she was introduced to a boy named Mike Simons. He was about 19, 20 years old at the time. And he didn't mess around. He would propose to her just a couple of months later. And in October of 2002, when this story really takes place, they had been married for about 4 months. I'm sure you're wondering, yes, he was about 20, yes, she was 17. She actually got permission from her grandmother to marry him. Her parents were no longer in the picture. Right after Jenna and Mike got married, they moved into Grandma's house. Just a couple of weeks after the wedding, Mike, well, he met someone. Her name was Katie Bellflower. Katie also grew up in Livermore, California. Now, she grew up basically in a household with divorced parents, so her mother lived in Livermore, where she stayed at primarily, and then her father lived in Texas, and she would go visit him on occasion. But because this started for her at such a young age, this began to wear her down mentally. She had a really rough time making new friends and then keeping those friends, the ones that she did have. But by the time she was in her mid-teens, we're talking starting high school, she started to use her good looks to her advantage. She became known as kind of a promiscuous person. I mean, she would basically date around with several boys from school. Her goal essentially was, I want to get the guy that's either already with someone, and then once I have them, I'm going to move on to the next. So she didn't keep a boyfriend long. She really just used them to win this battle against some other girl just to steal their boyfriend. All Katie cared about, essentially, was the hunt. Well, like I said, 2 weeks after Jenna and Mike got married, he would meet Katie at a party. Mike was born in 1982 or so, and he also, of course, lived in Livermore, California. Basically, right from a very, very young age, both of his parents were out of the picture. So he had basically been living with different relatives over the years. He grew up feeling very unloved, which, you know what, I can understand in that situation. But it turned in, for him, it turned into having this very combative psyche, this very just sort of belligerent type personality. He would try to join the military to kind of use that, but they actually turned him down because he had a criminal history. He had too much of a criminal history for them to even take him. He was a lot like Katie. He used his good looks to just get girl after girl after girl, and it worked for him. And then he met Jenna, and then I guess became very smitten with her and decided to, all right, let's get married. And maybe for a minute there he had this idea of yeah, I'll be faithful and we'll do this. He wouldn't do this. So Mike would actually tell Jenna, a month or so later, that he was having an affair with this girl, Katie. And Katie and Jenna knew each other. They actually went to high school together, so they were very familiar with one another. So again, Mike was sort of this conquest, I need to claim this man from his from his wife so I can take them. But the difference this time is apparently Katie became very infatuated with Mike, and this is someone she apparently wanted to be with, like permanently. Jenna was obviously very upset when all of this sort of came to fruition for her. She was very torn emotionally, which I understand. But she wanted to try to work it out still. She was like, listen, I still love you, Mike, and we can make this work. But he was like, no, I want a divorce because I want to be with Katie. And she was still like, I don't want to divorce you. You're my husband. We just got married. Let's try to make this work. I forgive you for your infidelities. So Mike said, okay, let's do it. Let's work on us. And then he told Jenna that me and Katie were done. We're through. I ended it with her, so now I'm focused just on you. It turns out, however, that Mike wasn't really sticking around for the love. He was sticking around for the money because Jenna worked, so she made money, plus her grandma had a lot of money and they lived with her. Katie, on the other hand, didn't have a job. She didn't own her own place. She also lived with people. And she just basically mooched off of the male conquests. So, on the night of October 7th, Jenna would leave her home. She told her grandma, I'll be back later. But that never happened. She never got back home that night. That same night, that's when the 911 call was made with regards to the car found on fire. When police ran the plates, they determined it belonged to Linda Nanetti, who happens to be Jenna's grandmother. Well, they're like, ma'am, we don't know what to we hate to tell you this, but the car is completely engulfed in flames. I mean, it's done. It's completely destroyed. But, the silver lining, I guess, was, Jenna wasn't in the car. But she was missing at this point because her car is on fire. Where the hell is she? That is when police find out that Jenna, just the night before, left a very concerning, very haunting voicemail on her grandma's phone. And this is that voicemail. Yeah, she said she was hit with a bat, and that she needed her grandma to come get her. But then she said, you know what, never mind, I'm going to Concord, California, which is I think they said 40 minutes away. She didn't explain why she was suddenly changed her mind to go to Concord, but that's what she made on that voicemail. I'm going to Concord instead, never mind. But also, what the hell? You were smashed over the head with a baseball bat, you have a concussion, what's going on? So her grandma still tried calling her back, but she never answered the phone. So she was like, I don't know what to do. Jenna's grandma was very aware of the Mike and Katie situation, and her first thought was, well, did Katie do something to her? Did she attack her, burn her car? So she told police, can you maybe go look into her? Because at this point, Mike also is not back at the house. He is also missing. And when they try to get a hold of Katie that night, they can't get a hold of her either. So what is going on in this crazy little trio? Did Katie hurt both Mike and Jenna? Who knows? Maybe he told Katie, maybe Mike told Katie that, listen, I'm not going to be leaving Jenna. We're going to try to work this out. So we have to end this like he said he did. And she got pissed and reacted out of jealousy and rage. Well, police need to find one of these people. They need to find someone. A couple of days later, they get a surprising phone call, police. It's Mike. He called them back. And so he said, if you guys have some questions, you guys can come to where I'm staying. I'm over at a friend's house. Because he told them on the phone that, yeah, me and Jenna, we got into a huge fight and we're going to be going through a divorce. And so I moved out and now I'm staying with this other person. And when police got to that house and knocked on the door and the door opened, it wasn't Mike who answered. It was Katie. Okay, what the hell's going on here? So Mike was there as well, but Mike and Katie told police that the two of them has rekindled their flame that they had just broken off, like not but a few weeks earlier. They both came off as very surprised that Jenna was missing, and that especially that Jenna's car was found on fire. But they said they had no idea about it. They weren't involved in all of that. So police asked them, okay, well, you need to provide alibis. And this is when they added to the story. They're like, this is when Mike was like, okay, well, me and Katie, we actually saw Jenna last night sometime around 9 p.m. Mike said that she had come to their house to beg for Mike to come home, to come back, to fix their marriage. When apparently he said no, this is when Jenna just stormed off, and he never saw her after that. But he does say that later on, she called his phone to say that she got into some crazy fight with some people. But apparently she didn't say who she got into a fight with, where she was. Mike didn't ask questions, I guess. Is this the person with the baseball bat? Did the baseball bat person burn her car? What's going on here? Anyway, they're asking, like, where were you guys that night after you saw her? The two of them said, well, we were together, so we are basically each other's alibis. We were home all night, and that's it. And then police were like, okay, well, do you have any way of corroborating this? Because you're just each other's alibis. It's not much for us. Then they said, oh, you know what? We actually did hang out with a friend. His name is Jeff Hamilton. Yeah, we went to a park that night. He can tell you. So police went to Jeff Hamilton, and Jeff confirmed. He said, yeah, we were hanging out at the park. We hung out at their house. Yeah, we were together. It was just the three of us. No one else. And, of course, Jenna is still not found. But that would change about 2 weeks later. A neighboring county would call the police that were investigating her disappearance and say, listen, we have found a dead body. It's very badly decomposed. We didn't have any way of verifying who this person was just visually. So we looked at the missing persons reports in the areas, and we happened to notice that you have one, Jenna Nanetti. She seems to fit the build. The decomposition seems to be pretty close to what 2 weeks would be. So they would end up doing dental records on this victim, and it was a match. It was the body of Jenna Nanetti. Jenna, her cause of death was determined to be 2 gunshot wounds that she had to her chest, one piercing through her heart. And then they also noticed that there was, in fact, like some sort of trauma to her head. But unfortunately, soon after that, the case, it dries up. They have no physical evidence to connect anyone. As far as they're concerned, their 2 possible suspects have been alibied out. Now they have no idea where to go. Fast forward to March of 2003. This is several months later, specifically March 1st, 2003. An officer is driving down kind of a remote road, and this is at night. And as he's driving, he happens to see a car pulled off to the side of the road, and then shining in the headlights, he sees 3 people. He stops his car and starts to get out. He sees one younger woman lying kind of on the ground, and the 2 other people have on rubber gloves, and they appear to be doing something to her neck. And so as they notice him, basically they stop doing what they're doing, and he asks them to all get up. Like, what the hell's going on here? Because it kind of looked like you were strangling her. And they were like, oh, no, we weren't doing anything like that. Our friend here, she's very sick, and she was going to throw up, so we put on gloves. So we didn't want to, like, get any kind of vomit, on her hands. So, ick. So that's why. So the cop looks at the third person and says, is this true? Are you sick? And she kind of just goes, she just very like, yeah, no, it's true. And before he lets them go, he asks all of them for their IDs. And so they all hand him over. The supposedly sick girl was a 16-year-old named Aspen Lum. The woman that was there was 17-year-old Katie Bellflower. And the third individual was a man, 20-year-old Jeff Hamilton. Remember Jeff? Alibi guy? Yeah. Mike, by the way, was not present in this scenario. But the officer, unbelievably, lets them go. Literally just a few minutes later, he gets a call on his radio that says, hey, one of the IDs you checked, is she still with you? Because Aspen Lum was just reported missing by her mother, and she's frantic. She wasn't supposed to leave the house, and now she's gone. So the cop's like, oh, shit. And then he gets into his car, and he speeds down the road, and he actually manages to catch up with the car several minutes later. He finds them like 10, 15 minutes later. And when he pulls them over, he walks up to the car, he sees Jeff in the driver's seat, he sees Katie in the passenger seat, and oh shit, Aspen is no longer in the car. They tell the officer, we just dropped her off at home, she's good. And he's about to be like, okay. And then he gets another radio call right then and says, we can scratch out the missing person, she's back home now, she is home with her family. And so the officer, again, is like, about to let them go again when, wait, don't let them go, the people on the other line said, the dispatch, because Aspen just frantically told her mother that the two of them were trying to murder her less than a half an hour ago. They had a rope around her neck and they were trying to strangle her to death. She said, she told her parents and then eventually the investigators that were at the house, we were hanging out, me and Katie and Jeff, we were just hanging out, having some drinks, kind of at this nearby park, and we were laughing, having a good time. All of a sudden, boom, rope around my neck is being tied tightly, and then all of a sudden, because she's struggling, she says, well, then Katie jumps on top of me to hold me down while Jeff is continuing to strangle me, and that's when, thankfully, the cop showed up. The cop saved her life without realizing it. And Aspen's able to prove it. Here's a few photos. You can see ligature marks kind of burned into her neck from the side and also from the front. So yeah, they were definitely trying to strangle her with some rope. When, they asked, like, well, why didn't you say anything when the cop asked you if you were okay? She said, listen, I was terrified. I was frozen, like in fear. Like I didn't know what to do. So she just went, yeah, I'm fine. Like, hoping the officer would see through it. So Katie and Jeff were obviously arrested right then and there, and they were brought into the police station. Katie says, Aspen's lying. She goes, that cheating girl was messing with my boyfriend, Mike. She wanted to be with him. She was trying to take him away from me. So she's just making this up to get back at me.
And the only thing I can think of is basically her trying to get me out of the picture so she can have Mike.
This Katie lady is a cuckoo wackadoo, all right? Okay, so what does Jeff say? They ask him. Well, he says, Katie's lying. God damn it, what is going on here? He said Katie wanted to kill Aspen.
She told me that yesterday morning, that is what she wanted to do, was to kill Aspen.
So Jeff said, well, Katie is a very good friend of mine. We've known each other for quite some time. So when Katie asked him, hey, will you help me murder this chick? He was like, well, you are my friend, and I don't want to lose your friendship, so okay. So yeah, sure, I'll help you murder her. What? He said Katie had planned the whole thing out.
Katie told me that what she wanted to do is as soon as Aspen looked either drunk or actually passed out from it, then that's when she wanted me to sneak up on Aspen.
Okay, then sneak up and do what?
Strangle her.
So now the investigators go back to Katie, and now she folds. She said she wanted to kill Aspen. She set it up to kill Aspen because she was, in fact, definitely dating my boyfriend, Mike. What is this group of people? I don't even... Then she spits out this. I felt confident that I could get away with murdering Aspen because I got away with murdering Jenna.
Me and Mike were talking about it one day, and we agreed that the only way to get that drama out of our lives was to get rid of her.
She then says, yeah, Mike and I, we planned Jenna's murder. She said they did it so that the two of them could be together forever, that they could get married. And one more thing, you guessed it, life insurance policy. Our old friend, always in the clutch, huh? It was going to be a $100,000 life insurance policy. Jenna had gotten one, and the payout was going to go to Mike, her husband. Katie got her friend Jeff to help because, Jeff! So, the night of October 7th, 2002, Mike convinces Jenna to go over to Katie's house with him so that the three of them can discuss this whole rigmarole of a relationship and sort of kind of end all of this now and figure out what we're doing. Allegedly, this signal that Katie was looking for in order to start attacking her was Mike was going to kiss Jenna. And he did that. And then all of a sudden, from behind, Jenna is hit in the head by an aluminum baseball bat. And Katie was holding the bat. Apparently, Katie is not a very good swing because it did not knock Jenna out. It just made her mad. She was like, what the fuck? And then, so apparently, Jenna was trying to then attack Katie, understandably. And then Katie runs away, and Jeff runs out of the house, and he runs after Katie. The two of them get into a car, and they speed away. The two of them drive to a place called the Whiskey Slough, which is apparently where they planned to hide Jenna's body later. Back at the house, Mike puts on this whole performance. He's hugging and kissing Jenna like, oh my God, I didn't know she was going to do that. I had no clue. He promises to get help, so he runs inside the house to go get something to aid her. And that's apparently when she makes that phone call to her grandma. Mike then comes back out of the house and tells Jenna, he goes, you know what? I know exactly where Katie and Jeff went. Let's go out there and let's get revenge on them. Let's go kick their ass.
I told her that he knew where I would be hiding and that if she wanted to go beat my ass, he'd hold me for her. And she agreed to it.
So, they drive out to Whiskey Slough, and there they are. There's Jeff. There's Katie. Right there. Jenna gets out of the car, and she begins to kind of like look towards Katie and walk towards her. When she notices out of the corner of her eye, Mike. She turns around. He has a shotgun pointed directly at her face. And according to Katie, Jenna begged for her life.
All I could hear was, Mike, please, no.
Mike then opened fire and shot Jenna 6 times. He must have missed a few times, however, because they only found 2 gunshots in her. The trio then disposed of her body where the police eventually found it. And then they drove her car and just, disposed of it, but then set it on fire so that it would be found. The thought for them there was, well, they'll find it, they'll think she ran away, or maybe they'll think she was in there, but she got burned up so badly. It's not how it works. Oh, by the way, guess what? That our old friend life insurance policy, well, Jenna was feeling very uneasy about this whole relationship. So a couple of weeks prior to her murder, she decided to change the old person who gets the money. She switched it over to good old grandma. So Mike was never going to get a dime, not a penny, nothing. Then Katie reveals, well, I'm pregnant. And we found out we were pregnant after the murder, so. But then they kind of deduced that, did you though? Because you're farther along and this must have been the motive, right? Right? You were pregnant and you don't want Mike to leave you. So, and you wanted him to make sure he was there for the baby and not have Jenna in the picture and so murder, right? And that's also the reason why she wanted Aspen killed, for the same reason. Jesus, again, what, why, when, who, what are these people? This is where we're about to get really angry. Because she was a minor at the time of the murder that she knowingly helped commit with an adult brain, she pled guilty and she was given 25 years to life. Not life without parole, but because she was a kid, I hate it. So you're telling me that if this had happened like 6 months down the road, she would have been just adult enough to be like, oh, now you know the repercussions of your actions. Now you're getting life without parole. But 6 months ago, when you're 17, you wouldn't have known. You were a kid. Come on. Such bullshit. Katie tries to drop another bombshell. She says, okay, it wasn't Mike who pulled the trigger that night at Jenna. It was Jeff. Jeff did it. Jeff was madly in love with Katie, and he had been for such a long time, which is probably true. She said Jeff would pull the trigger because he just wanted to make me happy. He wanted to do what was best for me. Aww.
I'd say 3 to 5 minutes after he walked down there with the shotgun, I heard the first shot.
Could you see what was happening from where you were at?
I could see the muzzle flash.
Yeah, so police weren't buying it. They said the physical evidence doesn't point to Jeff being the trigger man. He's been insanely cooperative at this point. He hasn't truly lied to us at this point, other than the initial alibi thing. We know Mike pulled the trigger. You're just trying to protect your man one more time, right? I can't keep up with these fucking people. This is just too much back and forths. But anyway, Mike would go to trial. He did not plead out anything, and he was convicted on all charges against him. And he was sentenced to life in prison without parole because he was 20, so he was adult enough to know what he was doing and know that it was wrong. Jeff, because of his testimony, because of his cooperation, he also was convicted of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 15 years to life. And something the judge said in this case, that's something important to know, is that, to those who don't know, like if you say like 25 to life, 15 to life, that doesn't mean at 25 years you get freed. That means at 25 years, or for Jeff, 15 years, that's when you can first ask for parole. But you can still be denied. And you can still be in prison for the remainder of your natural life. It's just a matter of the parole hearings and, how they feel. So 15 years to life for Jeff could actually really mean all of his life. For Katie, I don't know, I can see her somehow weaseling out of it. And that's it for this one. Jesus, maybe I don't want to be in a relationship. I've never been in one. Shocker, I know. Maybe it's not a good idea, though, huh? No, a husband would be nice, I guess. Nice white picket fence to be covered in blood once he shoots my head off, so no, probably not. But maybe... would it be worth it in the end? I don't know. I'd be dead, so I wouldn't care. Or maybe he would be. Yeah, but that is it for this case. I hope you found it interesting. If you want to see shorter form cases from me, head on over to my TikTok, also called Making a True Crime Error. It will be down below in the description. I have well over 2,000 other cases and stories over there. And yeah, go ahead and give me a follow. I just hit 2.8 million, on my way to 3 million, so okay. If you have a case you want me to cover, please send me an email to mikey@truecrimeerror.com. Please look at my link tree, which is in the description below. Check my case list. Scroll through it or search through it and see if the name you want me to cover is already on there. If it is, please don't email me. I get bombarded with emails, especially a lot of duplicates. But if it is not on there, go ahead and send me that email with just the name, when it happened, where it happened, just the basic info, and I can add it to my list. And lastly, if you would like to support me in any way, we do sell merch. We sell just basic t-shirts, we sell hoodies, we sell wine glasses, we sell mugs and other things. We will probably have Christmas ornaments coming up in the next few weeks or so. Those were really big last year. So yeah, and that is it for this one. And until next time, true crimers, chim chimmery, chim chimmery, chim chim. No. I'm not a musical person. I can't sing. Why am I trying to